Hey everybody, welcome! This is the Jim Show. Yeah, that's right, Jim. I killed Terry. Anyways, I'm only admitting it now. By the time this gets out, I'll be out of the country, so this isn't going to work for you. Oh, wait, sorry, Terry, I went on before you.
How these things happen, I don't know. Give a mic to Jim, and there's no telling what will happen. That's the
Well, if you hadn't been so long in the washroom.
The Jim and Terry Show, coming to you from the Hobbit Hole Studio in Bob Cage, and I'm one of your hosts, Terry.
And I'm Jim.
And we're talking about inquiries and the purpose that they serve, and I don't know how we got off that, but this is the chaser to the one where we talked about the Emergencies Act inquiry going on in Ottawa, and I wondered why there were so many flags on trucks going around lately. I hear there might be a protest going on in Ottawa to support the inquiry, rather to support those being asked to testify.
Like support of what side?
The truckers.
Well, why don't you wait and see what the inquiry comes up with first?
Well, yeah,
maybe the inquiry itself will support the truckers.
Well, you did see that some of them were asked to leave the hall or the room where they were investigating because they were becoming loud and raucous.
Seems to be the way now.
Loud and raucous?
What about just talking?
But they didn't have air horns this time.
Well, that's good.
Yeah, it is good. So I was going to
talk
say,
about
have you watched any of it at all?
No.
You're not interested. It's not your battle.
When you just said that, talk about people, and this is what I'm finding in politics now in the States, and the people in these, we seem to be cut into two groups, that's it. And one of the groups more than the other is very, very angry, very, very violent, very, very almost wanting to promote it. And to all of a sudden protest the inquiry, the only reason you would do that is to try to influence the inquiry. So we have a zero trust in anything zero trust. Why don't you let the inquiry say its thing? It might actually say this was an overkill. And then if it doesn't, maybe let your protest be known. But that's almost as bad as saying if I don't win the election, I'm not going to.
Whoa, that sounds like a Bolsonaro in Brazil.
Yeah, I'm not going to validate it if I don't win. It's about almost the same thing.
Could be.
You're going there to try to influence. I don't like it when people try to influence juries. You're not letting them. You're trying to influence them to get the result you want. That's not law. That is not justice.
Yeah.
And to be protesting something in the middle of this research into it is you're trying to influence that committee. And I find that kind of corrupt.
Well, it ain't pretty. Whether it's corrupt, to what extent it is, I'm not sure. But it is interesting for me to observe, and I've been following it, so I have what I would call morbid curiosity.
Go with it, Terry. Go with it.
Okay, well, where I'm going to go with it is that it's pretty much, I supported Trudeau as well in this, and I wanted to see to what extent the inquiry would say, well, yeah, it maybe ended up being necessary, but step A, step B, step C could have been done before that. So I'm interested in why they weren't being done and why did it get to that point. So obviously, if you say that it wasn't needed, you'd have to say, well, how come it didn't resolve until it was invoked?
Yeah. Well, that's what I was going to say. What are you going to do when you've got a bunch of people with hundreds of tons of blocking material and people just camping
trucks?
out? Trucks, yeah. Well, I mean, think about it. The whole downtown is screwed up now.
Yeah.
They're not going anywhere. Yeah. What is the other alternative? Bring the army in and shoot them all, kill them all? What is the other alternative? I'd be interested in that too, Terry.
Yeah.
What are you supposed to do when they're not going to budge?
Yeah, and at what point did those in authority, the Ottawa Police, the OPP, the RCMP, at what point did anybody know that the intention was they weren't just here till the weekend?
Yeah. Who knew? That's why I get a little upset when I think of like the police chief resigning and stuff. How do you know? You don't know.
Yeah.
You think, okay, they're going to be noisy for 2 days, maybe a weekend, and then they're going to go away. well, they ain't going away.
Right.
All of a sudden, you've got a bunch of unemployed truckers deciding they're now going to make downtown Ottawa their home and blatantly start opening bars, start putting in hot tubs, putting on stage productions, desecrating monuments and different things that they're doing, not to mention harassing business owners, a lot of which had to close their businesses because they couldn't get to them.
Jim, wasn't it a group of friendly people? They're just good citizens, patriots.
Yeah, I know. Well, I was watching. There's one good thing about modern times. It's like when Putin says he didn't do this or he didn't do that. And I remember the general saying, you know we have satellites, eh? Like you know we're looking at you. I mean, you're looking at us, we're looking at you, so you know that, right? Well, the same thing is I intently watched the coverage of that, and I saw that they weren't going to budge. There was nothing going to make them move, because I think I told you right in the beginning, no, they've already been taken over by the extremists who are unreasonable. They already been taken over.
One of the things that surprised me was that it wasn't as cohesive as I would have thought. To get that many truckers there, I thought there had to be cohesion, but apparently there were 3 or 4 competing groups with competing leadership and, competing as opposed to being together and united.
Yeah.
So that means that things are going to be a little more chaotic than some people might have thought when they started on the trek.
Yeah, and again, law enforcement and everything. What are they supposed to do? I mean, they got to protect the public.
Well, I'll tell you, one of the things law enforcement is not supposed to do, and that's to leak your game plans to the truckers. That is one of the biggest things that came out.
Is that what happened?
That's what came out yesterday in the
Really?
inquiry. So they knew about it at every point along the 3 weeks that they were in Ottawa. They knew. It was being leaked. So now I have a question.
Who's doing the leaking?
Who's doing the leaking at the municipal level? So the local Ottawa police.
Is it
what
Polyev?
about at the OPP?
Did Polyev go in there and tell him what's going on? Come on.
Well, he might have, but that would be at the federal level, right? 'Cause
Whoa, can't get any higher than that.
No, so I'm curious to see at what level this information. We're going to plan to come by. We're going to do a sweep of your area.
We're going to be checking for narcotics.
Yes,
Ooh, so they're good.
Yeah, you better get rid of that before we come by. Yeah, so sympathy for the cause, not necessarily a bad thing, or is it a bad thing?
Well, when it was hijacked right away, it became a bad thing as far as I was concerned. But who am I? I'm just Joe Citizen. I felt for the people down there, not as much for the people in the suburbs. Okay, but the shop owners and the hotels and all those that suffered, and there was no time to ask them, who do you support or who are you? There was none of that. It was just, we're now going to disrupt. And then when you start using terms like hang, Trudeau, and just dissolve the government, and who are you going to put in place, please? Like, I mean,
the Queen of Canada.
And you're saying that they're fascists and everything, and you just want to just put in a government without an election? Reminder,
MOU,
this was elected government.
The Memorandum of Understanding, which was their one document that I don't know who produced and I don't know when it was agreed upon or if it was agreed upon, did contain some rather contentious items, including using the Senate to overturn the government, abolishing the Liberal Party of Canada, not to mention what they wanted to do with Trudeau. All these things are not good things.
I forget, why did they want to abolish because they
mandate the Liberal Party's corrupt. They hate Trudeau and the Liberal Party's corrupt. It's
because
elitist.
They wanted to give us vaccines to save our lives.
Yeah, the mandates were abhorrent to them. So, of course, you get rid of the source, and it was the Liberal government who ordered under Trudeau.
Wouldn't it have been funny in a different world if they had it dissolved and then the NDP or the Conservatives took over? I wonder if they would immediately have said, stop the vaccines. I doubt it. I doubt it highly, because they would listen to the professionals who are telling them this is going to work.
Well, yeah.
Of course, I know a lot of them don't think it did work, but it did.
Some of them are wearing masks now in the inquiry.
Not those who are opposed to masks. What was that all about? Is that some sort of a prop?
Well,
to
I
make...
would like to say we're never too old to learn.
Oh, okay.
So wisdom,
I'm really
wisdom
sorry.
in hindsight, I like that. There's something appealing about that. Anyway, it's interesting to know. Bottom line for me is that the inquiry is mandated by law. If you trigger the Emergencies Act, you have to follow it up with an inquiry.
And Trudeau knew that.
Yes, of course he did. And he celebrated the fact that there would be an inquiry to get to the bottom of it, because apparently things were not forthcoming as they should have been. So everybody's in confusion. And why is that?
Oh, helter skelter.
Ooh, oh, gee, that's a
Skelter.
blast from the past.
Helter skelter.
I think that was under
Beatles,
Criminal
Beatles.
Minds or something. Charles Manson.
Oh yeah, Charles Manson.
Yeah, there you go.
I
Helter
like that
Skelter.
one.
I don't know if this is our last one. Do you have enough in you for another one?
Probably, if you
Okay.
want. It's up
Jim
to
and
you.
Terry, we might be back. Don't hold your breath. Bye-bye.
Be back.